Alright, welcome everyone to the very first installment of this new series I'll be doing on my channel where I aim to educate you about pomades. And you might find the series useful, especially if you are new to the world of pomade, if you are a beginner, because that's the type of audience I aim to direct these videos to. But if you are experienced, if you've been greasing for a few weeks, months, or even years now, then you might learn a thing or two from my videos. But the point is, you will be able to gain a lot of pomade knowledge just by watching these videos that I'll be putting up on my channel. So for today's episode, I'll be talking about what defines a pomade, or at least my personal definition of what a pomade is, as well as the classification of different types of pomades based on this definition I gave out and the current status of the hair product market. Because nowadays there are these advancements happening all the time, especially in the homebrew market, where it's a little difficult to tell whether some products really are pomades or not. For example, clay pomade. Some people are not able to tell the difference between clays and clay pomades, and I'll be clearing out these issues later on, or at least I aim to clear out these issues to you guys watching this video. And I will try to classify these different types of pomades as best I can to make sure you guys understand it and illustrate it the best way possible, so that you would be able to have a good idea of what really is a pomade and what isn't, and what makes each type of pomade stand out from each other by the end of this video. So first of all, let us get to what exactly is a pomade. Now, traditional definition of a pomade is that it must have slickness. It gives your hair a very slick, neat, and tight appearance, and it has the ability to slick your hair to form a really clean style such as this. Now this, I agree, a pomade must be slick and must have a level of slickness to it. Otherwise, it is not a pomade. And the second requirement, according to the traditional definition of a pomade, is that it must have a level of shine, at least a low shine, but it must have a shine to it. However, I beg to differ, because nowadays there are matte pomades. They have the ability to slick your hair into a really clean looking and sleek style, but just without the shine. There's no shine at all whatsoever. Therefore, let us rule this particular requirement out of the definition. And the definition of a pomade now, well, at least how I see it, is any kind of hair product that's able to slick your hair into a very clean and neat, tight, and slick style. That is a pomade, regardless of whether it has shine or not. And the main classification of pomades, you would notice already, even if you were a beginner, there are oil-based pomades and water-based pomades. Each of these main categories actually have their own little subcategories in them, which I shall get to later on. But let's talk about how you can tell the base of a pomade, whether it's oil-based or if it's water-based. You can just simply look at the ingredients list in any pomade. Usually, the pomade ingredient list goes by ratio, so whatever appears first, it has more of that. So usually you have most of the first ingredient and the least of the last ingredient. And that makes the first ingredient you would read in every pomade list the base product. For example, I have this can of this jar of Nostalgic Grooming's medium hold petro-based, and in its ingredients list, petroleum is the very first ingredient in the list. Therefore, it is petro-based or oil-based. So usually if water appears as its first ingredient, then it is water-based. But if it contains petroleum or a wax or butter or any kind of other oil, then it is an oil-based pomade. For example, Hall's Original over here has micro wax as its first ingredient, its primary ingredient. The wax is its base ingredient, therefore it's an oil-based pomade. Lockhart's Hair Groom also shows a perfect example of a butter-based oil-based pomade, where shea butter is the very first ingredient in the list. And Concho is also one of those. Most oil-based pomades are petroleum-based or petro-based. However, you have some pomades that are based on like other oils, such as Tancho, for example, which has castor oil as its base ingredient. And if you want to go for ultimate slickness and ultimate shine, you should go for oil-based pomades if you don't really mind the difficult washout. Buildup is basically any leftover residue where because oil-based pomades don't wash out easily. After you shampoo your hair, any amount of product that's remaining in your hair is called buildup. And some people might find this to be an inconvenience, but if you're like me, then you would actually use this to your advantage because that means you can be rather conservative. The next day you use less product to style your hair because you can use the remaining product as well. And also your hair just gets slicker as the day progresses until you strip all the pomade out of your hair, aka degreasing. If you want to go for a better level of shine and a better level of slickness and go for oil-based pomades, they tend to have the they have the most prominent shine and more slickness compared to water-based pomades. And also, now let us get to the elephant in the room. We can't forget about clay pomades. So we have oil-based clay pomades in the list of classification of oil-based pomades. And the difference between clay pomades and clays, it again boils down to the appearance it gives your hair. Usually clay pomades give you either a matte finish or it gives a low level of shine. However, what makes clay pomade stand out from other clays is that it has the ability to slick. As I said, if it can't slick, if it can't give you a neat or clean style, then it is not a pomade. Most other clays, especially saline clays, are usually texturizing. They're only good for messier and texturized looks, and they can't really do anything else. They're not good for cleaner styles. They're normally very dry, very grippy, and overall they're also thicker in their consistency as well. However, a clay pomade has more of a pomade-like density, and it's less thick than typical clay, and also it's more versatile in the way that you can get typical clay texture from it, and at the same time you can also get a really clean and slick style from a clay pomade. Finally, let us get to unorthodox oil-based pomades. Most people have heard of unorthodox water-based pomades already. However, not many people have heard of unorthodox oil-based pomades. Basically, an unorthodox oil-based pomade is an oil-based pomade that is designed to be very, very easy to wash out or is water soluble, because the trouble with oil-based pomades, or at least how the common man may see it as a trouble, but people like me won't really see it as much of a trouble, however, is that they're very difficult to wash out. Typically, oil-based pomades don't come out in one go. They take at least 2 washes, and that's still relatively easy for an oil-based pomade. And usually, and typically, the larger amount of wax they contain, then the harder it is to wash out of your hair, and they'll leave more of a buildup in your hair. There are some oil-based pomades, however, which are designed to wash out in one go or are water soluble. For example, you have Dax Super Neat over here, which is designed to be water rinsable. However, it has petroleum as its very first base ingredient. Therefore, it is an unorthodox oil-based pomade. So basically, any kind of oil-based pomade that is designed to wash out really easily or wash out just like a water-based pomade is an unorthodox oil-based pomade. Now let's talk about water-based pomades. If you're a beginner, you might have heard that water-based pomades are basically like gels with extra steps. They kind of harden, except that they're more slicker than gels. However, not all water-based pomades are like this. Usually the gel-type water-based pomades belong to the orthodox category, and you have your unorthodox water-based pomades. The difference between an unorthodox and orthodox water-based pomade is that an unorthodox water-based pomade is kind of like a water oil-based pomade hybrid. Obviously, it's water-based. Water is its very first its base ingredient, but it also simulates an oil-based pomade in a way that it remains pliable all day, and it doesn't harden, and it washes out really easily. One more thing I really need to note is that water-based does not always mean water soluble. It means that water is the primary ingredient, but usually orthodox water-based pomades are soluble, but unorthodox water-based pomades are most of the time not water soluble. A main feature that a lot of people tend to enjoy about water-based pomades compared to oil-based pomades, and what makes water-based pomades easily distinguishable from the oil-based pomades are that they feel a lot less greasy and feel more dry in the hair. And also, they wash out really easily, which is why a lot of people tend to prefer water-based pomades. Orthodox water-based pomades, most of them are gel-based. They're gel-type water-based pomades. That means they're water-soluble, so you don't even need to shampoo. And if you put the right amount of water in your hair, you would have your hair completely product-free. But with unorthodox water-based pomades, you can either opt for buildup, just like with oil-based pomades. You can just skip the shampooing, and with just water, you would have somewhat you'd have a somewhat broken down feeling of buildup, but a very clean buildup that's not as gross feeling as some oil-based pomades are. And if you want your hair to be completely product free, you can just go and use one round of shampoo, and you'd have the product wash out of your hair with no problem. So with unorthodox water-based pomades, you can opt for buildup, or you can also just wash it out of your hair with shampoo. Just one round of shampoo would be enough for most of them. In your orthodox water-based category, you have gel-type pomades, such as Suavecito, for example. And like I said, they're what some people may call glorified gels, or pretty much like gels with extra steps. And the main difference between a gel and a gel-type pomade is that if you open up a tub of gel, you would find that the consistency, it's very wobbly, it's jelly-like, it's super liquidy. There's a lot of water content in there. There's almost no form. It's super liquidy, and if you were to tap the can, it makes almost no vibration. It just simply wobbles. However, a gel-type pomade has more of a form to it. It has more shape, it's thicker, and if you were to tap the can, it makes these vibrations, these rings to them. And furthermore, gel-type pomades are slicker than typical hair gels as well, and they don't really flake just like a lot of gels do. That is not, I wouldn't say that all gel-type water-based pomades don't flake, because there's some really bad ones that actually do flake, but generally they're not supposed to flake, and they also don't harden as much as hair gels do, but they still harden to some extent. So they're pretty much like soft core hair gels that are slicker. That's basically an orthodox gel type pomade. However, you also have orthodox water-based pomades that are a mix of a gel type pomade and an unorthodox water-based pomade, just like Lockhart's Paradox, for example, hence the name Paradox. It has the properties of a water-based pomade, an unorthodox water-based pomade, in that it has a very jelly-like consistency and scoop to it, as well as appearance, but it doesn't actually harden like a gel-type pomade does, and it also has at least like a wax or in there as well most of the time. So basically, these orthodox, unorthodox water-based pomade hybrids are still, they can be considered either orthodox or unorthodox, but there are these hybrids that actually exist. There are a few of them, but they do exist, and it's rather confusing, but you can consider them to be either an orthodox or an unorthodox water-based pomade, because they're basically a mix of both. Now for unorthodox water-based pomades, again, you have clay pomades that are clay pomades, but just water-based. And you have your cream pomades, which basically they're called cream pomades mainly because of their consistency. It has a very creamy-like scoop, but it has the ability to slick your hair. And some cream pomades have the ability to not only slick them, but also to texturize them and give them a more messy look. But all cream pomades are able to give you a slick look, hence the name pomade. Just like flagship cream pomade is a very versatile one, it's able to do both kind of styles. Then I put miscellaneous water-based pomades over here to refer to any kind of other water-based pomade, like unorthodox water-based pomades, such as typical ones that act like oil-based pomades, but are water-based pomades, such as Templeton Tonic Summit, for example. And meanwhile, you also have some water-based pomades, which aren't really water-based but are plant juice-based, but they can still be considered water-based. For example, Sheer Revival Crystal Lake over here has aloe vera leaf juice as its primary ingredient, therefore it's considered a water-based pomade as well. So this is my video clearing out the different types of pomades out there in the market, and hopefully by the end of this video you're able to tell apart which pomades are which, and what are pomades and what are not pomades, and even what separates a clay pomade from a regular clay. And if you enjoyed this video, you learned a lot from it, please leave a like, leave a comment below, subscribe to this channel, click on the bell icon to never miss a single upload of the Squinty Show, and I will make more of these pomade guide episodes. They will come, so keep an eye out for them. And I'll see you next time on the Squinty Show.